offer my respects, my worship, my reverence to many people, to the gurus, starting with the guru. In this tradition, the guru is all important. Prabhupada is our main guru. Yes, this here is Prabhupada on the side, and Prabhupada is our main guru, but there are many gurus. So then we say Vande Aham Shri Guru. Then Shri Gurun means the gurus plural. So we offer our obeisances to all the gurus. There are many gurus in the line. Rupa Prabhu, Vilas Prabhu will be speaking about his books are especially concerned with the gurus. This is his specialty. This is about Prabhupada, Without Fear. And this one, he has several books about the acharyas. We call them acharyas, the book, gurus. And this one is about two very renounced, they lived very humble lives, but very elevated souls. So they are gurus in our line. Our guru line goes back thousands of years and more. So this is the prayer to the gurus, to the great saints and incarnations even. And these appear also in our line. We follow all these gurus and saints, incarnations of the Supreme. So those are the prayers. Honoring them. Our prayers are generally a little different from prayers. Sometimes you hear about praying, I'm going to pray for you, or I'm going to pray for a new Cadillac or something like this. But our prayers are in glorification of Krishna and of his devotees. So when we meet, just like these two exalted, this is the temple president, Vishnu Chitta, and Motsa, he's very famous. Please put your hands on your ears now. So I was very anxious to meet Motsa. So these two wonderful devotees here in the temple, I was anxious to meet them. So our custom is that we put our head on the floor. So they did that, and I also put my head on the floor, giving my respects to them as wonderful devotees of Krishna. So this is our custom, that we, just like this prayer, we honor the Supreme Lord, but we honor his devotees, and especially the gurus. So my dear friend, we're 50 years we've been friends. This is what, 10 years longer than we've been alive, right? So, but I would like to speak about, and this is just going to be a brief discussion, about Vedic culture and the environment. This is my specialty, it's my favorite topic. I've written a few books about this, but this is a very simple book. I have a special offer, I guess. I decided I wanted to start giving these for free. So I have a kind benefactor who's given me the facility to hand out these books for free. Unfortunately, I only brought 10 of these with me to give out tonight, but if you give me your address, then I'll send you one. Or if you want a PDF copy, you give me your email, I'll send you a PDF copy. So I'll give some now and also some later. This is about, it's about actually 100 pages. There's some endnotes, but 100, it takes about an hour to read, so it's not difficult reading. It's about Vedic culture and the environment. And I think this is particularly relevant. Our view on Vedic culture, now for those who don't know Vedic culture, we follow the Vedas. Veda means wisdom. And the Vedas are vast. The Vedas, the literatures. Vedas means literatures, or means knowledge, but it involves many works, many books. And from ancient times, they were generated, they were passed down by word of mouth. So the great sages, they memorized all of the verses and they passed them down to their disciples, from guru to disciple. So we specifically follow part of the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavat is the one of the Puranas. There are many Puranas. So those who are sort of well schooled in this culture, they understand what that means. Puranas are histories, basically, and ancient histories. And the Gita is the philosophy of the culture. Everyone knows the Gita. There's 1 billion people. They've heard of the Gita, they've studied the Gita, they know something about the Gita. 1 billion people. That's 1 out of every 7 people on earth, or out of 8 people. They know what the Gita is. So the Gita is very important, a very important work. Even if you don't know anything, you don't care really about this, what's going on, if you get a little familiar with the Gita, it's a good idea to understand, about what other people in the world are thinking and what their ideas are. So this is the primary literature that we follow for our ideals, our philosophy on life, how we view reality. What is reality for us? And a lot of introduction. But I forget now what was my time? It was 37. I forgot what I was giving myself for time.
Don't worry, I'll let you know.
Okay, good. That's good. See, this is our friendship. We're always... So, the Vedic culture, I was just introducing the Vedic culture. Vedic culture is vast. And you can say that there are roughly 1 billion people who today are following the Vedic culture to one extent or another. And especially there are probably about 600 or 700 million people who are specifically following our view, really following the Bhagavad Gita, our view. Not strictly following, but in general, we call it Vaishnavism, or Vaishnava means a follower of Vishnu or Krishna. So we follow Krishna, and we honor all Vaishnavas, probably about 600, 700 million people. So this vast Vedic culture has, I call this a solution. One of my dear friends said, no, Dayananda, you have to have a different cover for this. She didn't like this cover, so she's designing a different. But anyway, this says the solution. So the solution is the Vedic culture exists. Just the existence of the Vedic culture tells us what the solution is. If we just observe the Vedic culture, I was just talking to Vishnu Prabhu in Mahotsa, that I went to this small village that was established by our guru, Bhakti Vikas Swami, and he said, and I was commenting how wonderful that village is. It's just a simple village, no electricity, no running water. They grow their own food. When they have guests, they put them to work picking cashews or something. I forget what they had on the property. Cashews, was it? They had something.
They have cashews.
Yeah. So when the guests come, if they stay, I think, more than a couple of days, then they have to do some work in community. So wonderful, wonderful place, very simple, and wonderful people, wonderful devotees. So this is the traditional Vedic culture. It's not that we're saying everyone has to give up electricity and running water. That's another thing. Now I want to talk about this very quickly. I give a lot of introduction, but let me dive into this. But just one more bit of introduction. I guess an opening. All of the solutions to environmental difficulties, or let's say the predominance of solutions, are political and technological. In modern society, the solutions tend to be coming from sort of people who have left-wing, leftist ideas, like Greta Thunberg, for example, is very much a left-wing person, and and others like Extinction Rebellion, I guess especially in Europe, so they stand in front of cars, they're saying, no, we have to reduce fossil fuels. So these solutions are political solutions, generally spearheaded by like green parties, and all these are generally left-wing solutions. So this is very modern, this idea, this leftist idea or socialist or whatever you call it. This started about 150 years ago, 200 years ago. We're talking about a culture that's thousands of years old. So I wanted to start from saying that you have to kind of put aside these ideas and technological solutions. We're not talking about technological solutions here. We're talking about a cultural solution. We're talking about understanding a different culture and understanding how that culture operates in balance with nature. In harmony with nature. I prefer in balance with nature. It's a cultural solution. It's not a political, technological solution. So I know it's very difficult to do this just on demand, but I'm not demanding, I'm requesting. Just try to put these modern ideas of environmental solutions aside. Okay, now, see, if I talk too long, I'm cutting into his time, so I did that yesterday, the last lecture. He had 10 minutes left, I felt so guilty. So, see, my problem is I live like a hermit. I write books all the time. I live like a hermit. And what happens when somebody doesn't have a lot of contact with other people? They talk too much, when. So, yeah, So all right, let me start in earnest. So the basic problem of environmental imbalance, society's imbalance with the environment, with nature, is overconsumption. The environmentalists have this slogan, reduce, reuse, and recycle. So there's a lot of attempts at recycling, there's a lot of attempts at reusing, but as far as reduction is concerned, these are just superficial reductions. I read a list, somebody posted a list, it was just informal, somebody invented this, it was some 15, 20 things. It was like, make sure you get paper cup at Starbucks or something. It was just ridiculous, their ideas of reduction were just extremely superficial and what I consider whimsical. But so reduction. So this is overconsumption. This addresses overconsumption. This is a problem, especially in European culture. European meaning American, Australian, Japanese, American. European culture is spread all over the world. It's also in India and China. So when I say European culture, I don't just mean Europe. So this is the problem with the culture, and especially in the 1920s, beginning earlier, but in the 1920s, really the consumer economy started in earnest. And then there were some problems in the 30s, depression and the war, and then by the 1950s, I'm talking now about this country. So by the 50s, really, that was the free reign consumer economy. And then starting the 60s, 70s, especially in the 70s, overconsumption started, meaning that we started to consume more than the earth can produce. And the reason we enjoy what we enjoy now in this country is because we're either taking it from other people, other countries, or we force the earth by chemicals, by whatever means we can. We invent different ways, technologies, chemicals, anything we invent to force the earth, the waters, everything to produce. So along with overconsumption is overwaste and overpollution. So there's an organization that calculates how much everybody in the world, they gather a tremendous amount of data from all over the world, and they calculate how much each person should use. And their metric is, pardon me for this technical language, but their metric is 1.6 hectares per person on the earth. That's what the earth has to provide. That's what nature is giving us for each individual. 1.6 hectares. That's about, I don't know, say it's 4 acres or something like that. So that's our allotment from nature. Now in this country, we're very fortunate. We have something like 3.7. I forgot the exact number, but we use 7.6. So this is how much overconsumption is the problem. We use 7.6. In India and other countries, they use about 1.1 or 1.2. So that's the difference. 1.1 consumption hectares, that's the metric, versus 7.6. So our Vedic culture, which is more than India, it's about 1 billion people in India and Nepal and a couple of other countries, and then about 900 million. That's more than the size of UK, spread all over the world. That's what we could consider Vedic culture, modern Vedic culture. So using about 1.2, and the world's allotment is 1.6. So people in Vedic culture are good world citizens in that regard. Overconsumption. So this book is I won't get into too much detail, but this book is very critical of modern global culture, what I called European culture before. I call it, throughout the book, I call it, modern global culture. Because basically that same European and consumer economy, that same similar idea has spread throughout the world. Democracy and capitalism, socialism, humanism, as opposed to traditional society, the traditional societies that have existed for thousands of years. In some sense, it's really a modern experiment. Will this work, really? It's about a 200-year-old experiment. So, what is the solution? This is advertised to be the solution. Okay, time's up. The solution I present are 4 things. Really, the solution is at the end. So really, it's a good idea to read the book to get the build-up up to the solution, but I'm going to present it very directly and boldly here. So I analyzed this Vedic culture as having 4 essential components that allow us to live, us, meaning those of us in the Vedic culture, to live in balance with nature. And these 4 items either provide a barrier between us and nature, a barrier that prevents us, I mean, it's not a physical barrier, but it's a sort of a conceptual barrier that prevents us from destroying nature. Of course, we're humans. We all have our desires, and we tend towards destruction, we tend towards consuming, even over-consuming, so everyone has this problem. But these are 4 barriers, and they are also 4 paths at the same time. They provide us a path to elevation, to elevate our understanding, our regard for nature, and for the controllers of nature. Nature is not just something for us to use, to exploit. It's not an object. In law, I won't say that. It's a side. In law, in modern law, there are people, there are persons, and there are objects. So objects have no rights, only rights that we give them. Otherwise, people have rights. Corporations are people also. They're considered people. They have rights and they have responsibilities also, and they can be sued. But you can't sue a river or a dog or something like that. They're objects, and we can exploit them. Well, Vedic culture doesn't treat nature like that. That's not a concept. So I'm saying these 4 pillars, or these 4 items, are barriers and paths to an elevated understanding of our position in the world, our respect for the controllers and the supreme controller who creates everything. So what are these 4 in 2.5 minutes? One is that all souls are equal. So we are soul, we are living force, we are the living force within this body and mind, and that these trees, these plants that are hanging here on the side of the temple, these also have a living force, and it's the same as my living force. This plant is, in some sense, this plant is my brother or sister. So this is the respect for nature. So there are some commentators who have written articles who say that this concept provides a barrier between humans and nature. And also, when we understand fully that I am soul and I am equal to all, there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says, Samaksara Bhuteshu. What is that? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nashochati Nakamshati. Samaksara Bhuteshu. So it means that when we act equally, this is a very high level, but we're taught that this is our goal. So when I say path, we're providing a path. The culture is providing a path to this level, that when we reach this higher level, that we see all souls equally, or life force. By soul we mean life force. That's 1. 2 is, now this is, I have to explain a little bit, but celebration of Vishnu's and Krishna's Leela. So Leela and names, when we sang, when we were singing before, we were singing Krishna's names. And in the Vedic culture, names are everywhere. Names of Vishnu are everywhere. In the villages, people say, Jaramjiki, right? You heard this, huh? Jaramjiki or Jaramsa. Yeah, something like that. And Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, and Narayana. Sometimes in South India they'll say Narayana, Narayana, and many names like this throughout the culture. These are names of the Supreme. There are also appearances of the Supreme. All these pictures you see on the wall, almost every single one is a depiction of a Leela of Krishna. See Krishna and all his friends, they're walking into the huge mouth of a snake. And then the other one is a big bird on the far end. So all these are Leelas. So this is the Leela culture. You can say that the Vedic culture is a Leela culture. It's Vishnu Leela, different incarnations, Vishnu, Krishna, and they perform these wonderful, Leela means play or drama, or we often say pastime. It's kind of an old English word, but I like the word play or drama. It means the divine, the supreme, he comes here on the earth and he has fun. He has this Leela. It's a play, he's playing. And he plays, he brings all his friends and he invites some others and he says, oh, let's play. So this is what we celebrate. This is the culture of celebration. So in the modern culture, get something. This is the way I celebrate. Let's go to the mall and we'll buy some things, or let's order something and this is our celebration. But within the Vedic culture, we enjoy by celebrating Krishna's Leelas, and we enjoy by singing here. And here, these also are representatives. I mean, these also are pictures of Krishna and his brother Balaram and his consort Radha on the right. And then there's on the altar on the right side is Nrsimha. This is a half man, half lion. So this is a Leela where Nrsimha appears. Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, that's wonderful, but if you learn anything about the culture, learn something about the Leelas. Leelas are amazing. So many. And also the name, chanting Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
3 and 4.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So carried away with the Leelas. So quickly, 3 and 4 is 3 is a little bit obvious. It's an agricultural economy. Modern economies are described as either socialist, communist, or a mixture. Or you could say that they're supported by industry, services, or agriculture. So agriculture means big agriculture, agribusiness. Industry, of course, everybody knows what industry is, heavy industry. Services means all the services that you find in the American economy. American economy is dominated by, it's a services economy. Generally, that's how it's described. So we advocate a return to agrarian economy. That means locally produced food and local production, basically. Food and things we use, like clothing and all our housing, sheltering, all these things. Local production, agrarian economy. Number 4, the final one, and this is difficult to communicate, so I'll just turn it over. No. The last one, and just in brief, and I recommend you get one of these books. As I said, I'm giving them out free. The last one is the Vedic culture is a culture that has as its core, in its structure, it teaches how to tolerate nature. We have this verse, Matra Sporshastri Konteya Shitoshna. Everybody knows this. See, they all know this verse. They learn this. This is one of the basic. The last line says, Tans Titikshasva Bharata. So it says all the things that happen, you have to Titikshasva. It says you have to tolerate them. And then the next verse is important too. I hope that you learned that. Yam Hinabhyatyanthyate. Yeah, you know that. And so amritat bhaya kalpate. So the last line of that verse means that one who's able to do this, who's able to tolerate, he's eligible for liberation. So that's good. So tolerance of nature. I'm so bad, I just talk too much. So.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
His Grace Dayananda Prabhu ki
Jai.
jai.
I have a, that's good, I guess. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone who's taken pictures, great, but I would like it if you could send some of them to me, because I want to do a little travel walk. We've been traveling around the southeast of the United States. So anyone who's taking any photographs, let me know, and I'll give you my email address. Yeah, okay, that's all. Now, I'm going to speak a little bit about Guru Tattva, which means the culture, you could say, of accepting a spiritual master. I mean, of course, in modern culture, sometimes the idea of a guru or a spiritual master is made fun of or satirized. You know, that, oh, he's the guru, you know, like it's some kind of phony person who's trying to just basically get money. Teaching something that's supposed to be, you know, how to help you in your life, or that's going to enable you to become a self-realized soul. But in fact, this guru tradition that we follow has been it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And in recent history, of course, we mentioned A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, which is the person where that light is in the back. I guess it's a fluorescent light. That's a painting of Srila Prabhupada. And he came to the West in the 60s. And he had been following this tradition in the culture that Dayananda Prabhu was trying to describe for some time. He was elderly, just like we're now elderly. His followers are now all quite elderly. And he came with this message about Vedic culture and how to live a life that was full of joy and happiness and satisfaction. This is possible. And he was trying to teach us the method. So that started me off when I first came to Krishna consciousness, practicing Krishna consciousness. There were magazines that had some articles by these great personalities in our line. So you will all know the names, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was Prabhupada's spiritual master, then Gaur Kishore, who was Bhaktisiddhanta's master, and then his master, Jagannath Das Babaji. These are all great personalities that came to teach God realization, how everyone could become a God-realized soul. So I've written a book about Srila Prabhupada. I've called it Without Fear. This is a hardback edition. We have hardback editions and paperback editions also. That's specifically about him, what he taught when he came to the West in 1965. And he was in this world until 1977 and was able to establish hundreds and hundreds of temples and educational institutions and so many things, and more than 5,000 disciples. and spread this movement all over the world, actually, with the help of his disciples. And so I've written a biography about him, and this one, Babaji Maharaj, is about several of the renunciates, or that means persons that lived extremely simple, pared back sort of lives, almost incomprehensibly renounced from our point of view, but they were living these lives that they felt were inspired by the teachings of the Golden Avatar, who's there in this picture with his arms upraised, Lord Chaitanya. They were followers of Lord Chaitanya, an incarnation of Krishna in this age about 500 plus years ago. And their teachings were but the average person couldn't possibly follow their teachings because they were so renounced. They said, well, for instance, Gorkashore, this is one of those Acharya is one of those gurus. He used to, it's a little maybe hard to understand, so anyone could live this way, but he was living so simply that even the clothes that he wore were, in India they have the process of cremation. If a person dies, they're cremated. But they initially are, brought with some clothing or cloth which covers them. He would collect those cremation cloths that were left over on the banks of the river, and that would be his clothes. And he would eat whatever he could beg from door to door, or if there was nothing being offered, he would eat mud from the sacred rivers. Now, some people thought he was a madman. They thought, how could anyone live like that? But he was constantly immersed in chanting the holy name and singing songs about the other acharyas, and glorifying, God constantly. And this is the way he lived. And actually, it's described here in this book. I think I can find it fairly easily, where it gives a description. Yeah. This is his spiritual master, who I mentioned, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He made this description of him. He said, my revered guru lived like a madman at various places on the bank of the Ganga near the town of Nadia. He completely gave up cooking and never accepted any eatables from materialists. Anyway, this goes on, giving this very austere. He would cover his body with clothes that were discarded after having been used to bring the dead to the cremation ground. People would give him gifts, and he would arrange to give them to other people that maybe needed them more than he did, because he didn't seem to need much of anything. So this kind of person, the kind of life they led, and the other guru also, Jagannath Babaji, the kind of lives they led, nobody could lead those kind of lives, or very, very few could live a life that renounced. So the succeeding gurus, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta, they began to give teachings that more people could follow, that humans, the average human could possibly even follow. But even then, those are the average humans maybe in India that could follow it. So then when Prabhupada brought this movement to the West, to the US, he knew that he would have to present something that's more within the realm of possibility of a Westerner. So he gave a series of practices that anyone could do if they were serious, but at the same time would be effective in advancing them on the path of self-realization. So that's what I tend to write books about, these personalities, because they're so amazing. And I wanted to say one brief thing about the focus on Prabhupada in this book, this Without Fear book, is that he's a person that is so attractive. To actually come to Krishna consciousness, the fact is you have to find someone that's so attractive enough to you that you're ready to do anything they ask. And that's rare. So there are many accounts, and that now that he's disappeared, to know how attractive, how merciful, how kind, how benevolent he was, and so embracing of others, you have to hear about him. And I think that's what fixes a person. You come to Krishna consciousness often because of someone you met. You met someone who had such wonderful qualities that you wanted to be with them or learn from them or even follow them. And so Prabhupada was such a person. So there's been many biographies written about him. So many. I mean, this is just one of them. There's, as you all know, there's the Lilamrita, there's Miracle on Second Avenue, there's so many. And in one sense, I think that these bear reading almost before reading Prabhupada's books. I know that's a little controversial, but I think that to know what sort of person is still, because of his teachings are so extensive, he's still directing this movement. Everyone is following his teachings, his books. But if you start with the books, sometimes you don't get a full sense of who that person was that came to try to help people become self-realized souls. You don't get a full picture of what he gave and what he's trying to do to uplift others. So I recommend highly that you read this kind of book, at least along with the books that Srila Prabhupada has left us on the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya, because then you get a real sense of the merciful and kind nature of those persons, of what they sacrificed to bring us knowledge of a higher kind of culture, a higher kind of existence, higher in the sense that a more profound way of life, and a kind of life that is dedicated to service. That's the emblem they showed. That's their whole nature, was showing how to be of service to others. You know, there was a famous motto by a former U.S. president about "Ask not what country can do for you, ask what you can do for the country." And actually, that was, people like that, but still, the overriding mentality in our culture is sometimes, what does it do for me? What can you give me? Or what is it, WIFM, what's in it for me? That tends to be the overriding principle sometimes. But actually, if we're thinking as more of as a servant, which is part of what they came to teach, try to find how to become a perfect servant, how to be absorbed in service to others. And so you see all these orange gentlemen here. They're very absorbed like that. They're constantly using all their time, their energy, their life. They're giving their lives to try to reach out and teach people how to become self-realized souls, how to become happy, how to become absorbed in God consciousness. And they're here to teach. They're here to serve. And that's the culture that we're trying to let people know about. And it's a long tradition. You know, there've been these acharyas, or mainly you could say, or as far as we know in the West, they were bottled up in India for thousands of years. We didn't know anything about them really. Sometimes in older historical accounts, you'll say, "Oh yeah, there was a sadhu, this Indian sadhu," and oh, interesting. You know, they had no idea what a sadhu, what a saintly person was. And now we have that information, and we're trying to distribute it in form of books, in the form of these biographies about Srila Prabhupada, in the form of biographies. So basically, I'm dedicating at least my time and energy to try to serve by making knowledge about the historical nature of these persons and what they have given us, what they're bringing us. So I think my time is up.
No, you have 5 minutes.
I have 5 minutes. Okay. Well, if anybody has any questions, then, if there are any questions. I'm not getting any answers.
So
that means everyone understands everything, and we'll have a lot more of these saffron people very soon. You can, all the people here will come over here and join the group, and that's what no questions means, right? Sir.
I just want to say,
He's fixing it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
To everyone here and you guys. I've been coming here a little bit close to like 2 months every Sunday, and I'm just so grateful. And Hare Krishna again. My question is, what is the most important thing of service to Krishna? And you got, and because I know you've been doing this a long time, what is the most important thing you could say, both of you guys, in this walk, in this path?
Well, the first thing we learn, as far as service is concerned, is chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That would be the first service, in my mind. That's the way my opinion
Well,
is. Oh, you have this.
oh, right. Yeah, I'm a technological genius. I mean, sometimes people don't understand how this chanting is service. So I was just going to comment this. It's the service that you're giving your time and your energy to glorifying God in His names. Hare Krishna, that mantra that was just chanted, Hare Krishna mantra, is about, my dear Lord, please engage me in your service. That's the prayer, please engage me in your service. So I would say it is the most important. And then the second most important is, don't keep asking for service unless you're going to render some. Sometimes people think, oh, that's nice. Okay, it feels good. Because I remember after I chanted Hare Krishna for a few months, I was thinking, well, I feel a lot better. But I wasn't thinking about what I could do for anybody else. So I think that, yes, we're praying for service, and now let's try to deliver some. If you don't, and a funny incident once, somebody wrote our spiritual master a letter asking lots of questions. And so finally he said, use your common sense. He said, and if you haven't got any, ask somebody who does. So if you don't know how to be of service, ask. And then you'll be given some. You'll be given some direction how you can help. Because what we're trying to do, we're trying to spread this message as far as we possibly can. To engage people in a way, and sometimes people think, well, this means I have to do things. People tend to be, I know I'm very lazy, so, sometimes they'll say, well, why don't you do such and such? And I'll think, I don't want to. There's a tendency not to want to do anything. But that's the whole mission, is to trying to be of service, to try to do for others. So that's really, I think, asking for service and then being of service. Try to mold your life in such a way that
$20 each.
we would say being a perfect servant is the goal.
10 of these. I thought.
A servant of God, a servant of other beings. And as he was saying about the idea of soul, that the soul is everywhere, in all living beings, all animals, all plants. They're all souls.
We have more.
So that kind of respect and that kind of treatment of others is so important. We try to be always of service to all living beings, as far as possible. Anything else?
Yes, we have to be a little brief. We're going to there's another temple, I don't know if you know, but we're going to that temple. So yes, please.
So my question is,
The
my
microphone?
background is Christianity, and having the thought of being perfect and that you're not perfect. So I hear a lot in. So how do you how do you set your mind on understanding that you can be perfect in Krishna?
Well, one thing I think is important to consider. I was just thinking about this recently. This idea of being perfect. Our goal is to be a perfect servant to Krishna. So our goal is not to have a perfect complexion, or, I'm saying that not to have a material perfection, but to be a perfect servant of Krishna. So we can do that by following. First, we find out a few perfect devotees, or devotees we think are good examples, and we try to understand the good qualities they have, and maybe give some service to them, and then we understand about the gurus and how they are perfect, and we understand about the great models. There's some beautiful verses by Chaitanya, who was that Rupa Vilas was pointing out in the back there. He's dancing like this, Chaitanya. So in the book about him called Chaitanya Charitamrita, you know this book?
No.
Yeah, in this book, the last chapter and right at the end, it's not just one book, it's several volumes, but it describes his selflessness in service. And that's that's the perfection. To be completely selfless, not to have any selfish motivation in giving service. So
I think that's the perfection is not, it's not like, I'm gonna walk on water or anything, but necessarily, but, we leave that to those who are qualified. But it does mean, as he's saying, that we met someone just yesterday who has been involved in Krishna consciousness for a long time. And just studying his behavior is that at every moment he's thinking how he can help and serve you, or how he can help and serve others. I mean, his focus is absolute like that. He's just thinking, how can I be of service? He's constantly thinking like that and acting like that. So that's a kind of perfection, someone who's always trying to think like that, how to be of service, how to be a better servant, how to be a better person, who's trying to help others. Kind of like that, yeah. I don't know, I hope that helped.
Hare Krishna. So they have another engagement, so I welcome everyone to attend tomorrow's morning class here. They'll have more time. It's at 7:30 in the morning. You're welcome. And all we request you all is to just RSVP, so we'll have some nice breakfast also for everybody who will attend. We have some of their books. Also will speak about them. And in the meantime, just before that, we can thank them for kindly coming and gracing us with their association by loudly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. His Grace Rupa Vilas Prabhu ki jai, His Grace Dayananda Prabhu ki jai.
Yeah, this one is also 20 years. Yeah, it's mostly more for devotees, more internal. As I said, there's about 10 of those.
Okay.
But after that, if somebody else wants one, maybe you can keep one back.
Okay.
And if somebody says, I want that one, you can get the name and address, and we can send.
Yes. So leave copy. Hare Krishna. So we request that whoever wants Prabhu's books, I'm gonna have the box right here. You can come. I'll just have it right there. Whenever you guys are going to exit, I'll be standing right there waiting for you to give you the books. So please try to grab a copy. This one is $20, right? And the other book is also $20. This one is free. So if you could please come and grab some, that would be really, really amazing. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So we can all go, after this, we can go downstairs to take some prasad. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Look at it, Emily. You gotta say it's time for some food.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's time for some food.
Wait. Oh wow. Good find.
It's time for that food.
And this left?
Yeah.